Catherine Zeta-Jones wasn't born into fame. She was born in Swansea, a working-class seaside town in South Wales, where the winds smelled of salt and coal and ambition was something you didn't talk about too loudly. But even as a child, Catherine was never quiet about what she wanted. She wanted the stage. She wanted to sing, to dance, to dazzle. And from the moment she opened her mouth, people noticed. Born on September 25, 1969, Catherine was the middle child of three. Her father, Di Jones, ran a candy factory, and her mother, Pat, was a seamstress. The family was tight-knit, traditional, and hardworking, typical of Welsh values. But Catherine wasn't typical. She had energy that couldn't be contained, a voice too big for the living room, and a flair for drama that made dinner at the Jones household feel like a theatrical production. She started taking dance lessons at age 4. By 9, she was performing in local musicals and pantomimes. It was clear to everyone around her that this girl had it, the spark, the timing, the magnetism. She didn't just perform, she owned the room. Her parents, recognizing her passion, enrolled her in a local art school where she trained in acting, singing, and dance. Catherine flourished. While other kids were riding bikes or playing football, she was rehearsing choreography and memorizing monologues. She didn't mind. The stage made her feel like she mattered. By the time she was 11, she landed a role in the West End production of Annie, a major milestone for any young actor, let alone a girl from a small town in Wales. She split her time between school and stage, traveling back and forth to London, while staying grounded in her Welsh roots. Fame hadn't arrived yet, but the path was forming. It wasn't just talent that set her apart, it was focus. Catherine didn't have a plan B. She didn't want one. The lights, the music, the costumes, it all made sense to her in a way real life never quite did. She wasn't chasing dreams, she was preparing to take what she believed already belonged to her. And the world, slowly but surely, was beginning to take notice. By the time Catherine Zeta-Jones turned 15, she wasn't just a promising student of the arts, she was a working actress in London's West End. While most teenagers were worrying about homework and first crushes, Catherine was performing in front of hundreds of people night after night. And she wasn't just surviving, she was stealing the show. Her big break came when she joined the cast of 42nd Street, one of the most beloved Broadway musicals of all time. Originally cast in the chorus, Catherine trained relentlessly, determined to prove she was more than just a background dancer. Then, fate intervened. When the lead actress fell ill mid-run, Catherine stepped in as understudy and dazzled. Audiences couldn't believe the power, poise, and presence of the girl who had quietly been waiting in the wings. Overnight, she was the star. This Cinderella moment made headlines. At just 17 years old, she was now leading a major West End show. The press called her the next great British star, and the buzz began building around her name. Casting directors, talent agents, and producers all came knocking. But Catherine didn't let it go to her head. She still lived in modest digs, took the tube to work, and treated every performance like it could be her last. Her voice, rich, clear, and emotionally charged, became one of her signatures. She wasn't a belter like some Broadway divas. Instead, she sang with sincerity and story. Combined with her expressive face and natural charisma, she became a force on stage. She didn't just hit the notes, she made them mean something. As her name gained traction in the theater world, TV producers began to take notice. British television was in its golden age of drama and variety, and Catherine was the perfect combination of beauty, talent, and discipline. She soon began making appearances on popular shows, gradually shifting from stage to screen. But Catherine never forgot her stage roots. Years later, she would say, "Everything I learned about discipline, timing, and truth, I learned in the theater. That was my training ground. That was my first love." It was clear this girl from Swansea wasn't just passing through the spotlight. She was built for it. And soon the world beyond Britain would come calling. By the mid-1990s, Catherine Zeta-Jones had already conquered the British stage and television scene. She was beloved in the UK for her roles in period dramas and romantic series, known for her beauty, charm, and presence. But in Hollywood, she was still a mystery, a stunning talent waiting to be discovered. That all changed with one swashbuckling swing of a sword. In 1998, Catherine starred opposite Antonio Banderas and Anthony Hopkins in The Mask of Zorro. She played Elena, the fiery daughter of Don Diego de la Vega, and her performance was a revelation. She was graceful, yet fierce, elegant, yet explosive. In a genre where women were often reduced to damsels, Catherine was a woman of action, intelligence, and wit. She didn't just hold her own with two of the biggest names in the business, she stole entire scenes. American audiences were instantly smitten. Here was a woman who looked like a movie star from the golden age, think Ava Gardner or Sophia Loren, but moved with the confidence and control of a modern action heroine. Her accent, her eyes, her smirk, everything about her felt both classic and fresh. She wasn't just eye candy, she was a force. Hollywood took notice. Fast. That same year, she landed the leading role in Entrapment 1999 opposite Sean Connery. The film, a sleek heist thriller, became a hit, and Catherine became a global sensation. Posters of her crouching beneath laser beams in a black bodysuit became iconic. It was sensual, yes, but also smart and daring. Once again, she wasn't just a love interest, she was the one with the plan. And then came the big moment she was cast in Traffic 2000, directed by Steven Soderbergh alongside Benicio del Toro and Michael Douglas. Her performance as a privileged wife spiraling into corruption showed her dramatic depth and solidified her reputation as more than just a beautiful face. Hollywood wasn't just calling anymore, it was listening. By the early 2000s, Catherine Zeta-Jones was already a global star. She'd conquered action, suspense, and drama, but there was still one stage she hadn't yet fully stepped onto: musical theater, her first love. When Rob Marshall began casting for the film adaptation of Chicago, a dazzling musical full of jazz, murder, and showbiz ambition, Catherine saw the opportunity not just to perform, but to explode. She didn't audition like a rookie. She walked in like someone who belonged. And when she sang all that jazz, she didn't just hit the notes, she devoured the screen. As Velma Kelly, the sharp, cynical vaudeville star turned murderess Catherine, lit up every scene. She danced with razor precision, belted with fiery confidence, and embodied the seductive danger that the story needed. Unlike many musical films where actors are dubbed or choreography is softened, Chicago demanded the real thing. And Catherine delivered. She wasn't a movie star pretending to sing, she was a stage-born performer finally getting her dream role, and she made it count. Critics raved. Co-stars Renee Zellweger and Richard Gere held their own, but Catherine was the standout. She's not just the flash, one critic wrote, she's the fire. In 2003, she won the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. Standing on that stage in a maternity gown, 7 months pregnant with her second child, Catherine gave a heartfelt, proud, and surprisingly grounded acceptance speech. "My dream came true," she said, voice shaking with gratitude and defiance. "And if this doesn't prove that Welsh girls can sing and dance, I don't know what does." That moment wasn't just a win for her. It was a declaration. That beneath the beauty and the movie star glamour, there was grit, talent, and years of theater-hardened discipline. She had been typecast as the exotic beauty. Now she was something much more: an Oscar-winning actress, a triple threat of force. And the industry saw her differently from that day forward. Hollywood loves a good love story, but it especially loves one with drama, age gaps, and red carpet royalty. So when Catherine Zeta-Jones began dating Michael Douglas in the late 1990s, the tabloids lit up like wildfire. He was 25 years older already, an Oscar-winning legend. She was rising radiant and freshly minted as a leading lady. For some, it looked like a mismatch. For them, it was the beginning of a life together. They met in 1998 at the Deauville Film Festival in France. Michael famously told her, "I want to father your children," on their very first date. Catherine laughed, walked away, and then called him back. Within 2 years, they were married at the Plaza Hotel in New York in a lavish ceremony that drew celebrities, royalty, and endless media attention. But behind the spectacle, there was something genuine: they really were in love. Their marriage wasn't just about glamour, it was about partnership. In interviews, Catherine often described their relationship as rooted in humor, mutual respect, and shared goals. "We're both passionate. We're both Welsh in spirit," she joked, referencing their Celtic tempers and loyalty. In 2000, they welcomed their first child, Dylan. 3 years later came their daughter, Karis. Catherine embraced motherhood with the same intensity she brought to her career, but this time she made a conscious shift. She stepped back from constant filming, choosing fewer roles to stay home more often. She wasn't disappearing, she was reprioritizing. Of course, being in the public eye meant their private struggles weren't always private. Michael battled throat cancer. Catherine was diagnosed with bipolar II disorder. Rumors of divorce swirled, particularly in 2010 when they briefly separated. But they weathered it all and reunited stronger than before. What made Catherine different was her honesty. She didn't pretend their life was perfect. She talked openly about therapy boundaries and learning how to protect her peace. She also became more selective about her work, saying, "I don't need to be everywhere. I just need to be where it matters." And slowly the narrative changed. She wasn't just Michael Douglas's younger wife. She was Catherine Zeta-Jones, a woman who could win Oscars, raise kids, and still walk into any room with command. She had built something that even Hollywood couldn't manufacture a real life. Fame is a strange companion. It gives you the world and then dares you to hold on to yourself. For Catherine Zeta-Jones, the pressure of public life didn't always show up in headlines or box office numbers. It showed up in silence behind closed doors when the cameras weren't watching. In 2011, she made a decision few stars of her stature had ever made. She went public with her diagnosis of bipolar II disorder. It wasn't planned. It wasn't part of a PR strategy. It was a response to years of holding it in, of fighting quietly, of feeling like she couldn't breathe without performing. "I'm human," she said. "I get sad. I break. And that doesn't make me less." Her announcement made global headlines not because it was scandalous, but because it was honest. It came during a time when mental health was still heavily stigmatized, especially among celebrities. But Catherine refused to hide. She checked herself into a treatment center for brief periods, spoke candidly about therapy, medication, and the importance of stepping away when needed. It wasn't easy. Some tabloids turned her diagnosis into clickbait. Rumors swirled about her marriage, her parenting, even her appearance. But Catherine stood her ground. She didn't apologize for her struggle. She owned it. And in doing so, she gave others, especially women, permission to stop pretending. In the years that followed, she became more selective about her roles. Not because the offers dried up, but because she wanted peace more than exposure. She appeared in fewer films, but stayed deeply connected to the work she believed in. And as her children grew, she spent more time being present with them than posing on red carpets. Her strength didn't come from pushing through. It came from stepping back. And somehow, by choosing herself, she became even more powerful. When Catherine Zeta-Jones returned to acting more regularly in the late 2010s, she didn't try to recapture her youth. She didn't chase the ingenue roles or try to look 29 again. She came back on her own terms, sharper, bolder, more deliberate. And she chose parts that fit the woman she had become. In 2017, she made headlines once more with Feud Bet and Joan, the acclaimed FX series about the legendary rivalry between Bette Davis and Joan Crawford. Catherine portrayed Olivia de Havilland, one of the last true ladies of old Hollywood, graceful, reserved, but with steel under her smile. It was a supporting role, yes, but one that required elegance and nuance. She brought both. That performance reminded critics and viewers that Catherine didn't need to dominate the screen to leave a mark. Her poised diction and controlled emotion set her apart from the noise of modern television. She wasn't loud. She was magnetic. In 2021, she took on a much darker, more playful role in Prodigal Son, a psychological thriller series where she played Dr. Vivian Capshaw, a cold, calculating surgeon with secrets darker than her smile. It was a sharp turn from her classic elegance, and she relished every second. "I love playing women who aren't afraid to be complicated," she said. "The kind of woman who smiles while holding a scalpel." Catherine was no longer chasing stardom. She was playing. She was exploring. And in that freedom, she found something richer than fame control. In a media landscape that often forgets women past 40, Catherine proved that charisma doesn't age. If anything, hers deepened. Her screen presence had evolved from beauty to gravitas, from allure to authority. She didn't just return. She reminded everyone that she had never left. In 2022, Catherine Zeta-Jones once again found herself at the heart of pop culture, this time in black velvet and a raven-sharp silhouette. Cast as Morticia Addams in Netflix's Wednesday, she wasn't just stepping into a role, she was stepping into a legacy. Morticia isn't an easy character to play. She's been immortalized by previous icons like Angelica Houston and Carolyn Jones. But Catherine brought her own flavor, more restrained, more regal, and unmistakably magnetic. With a single glance, she could freeze a room. With a whisper, she could command it. Appearing opposite Jenna Ortega's Wednesday, Catherine's Morticia served as the darkly maternal counterbalance to her daughter's teenage rebellion. Their scenes crackled with tension and affection, showing a mother who understands darkness not as something to fear, but as something to harness. What made her portrayal work wasn't the campiness, it was the restraint. Catherine didn't overplay Morticia's gothic grandeur. Instead, she wore it like a second skin. In her hands, Morticia was elegant, erotic, mysterious, and deeply human. Audiences loved it. Critics praised the show's visuals, writing, and performances, but many highlighted Catherine's ability to update Morticia for a modern era, without losing what made her iconic. She wasn't parodying the Addams Family, she was grounding it. The success of Wednesday was staggering. Over 1 billion hours streamed, global memes, Halloween costumes. And at the center of it all was Catherine, older, wiser, and once again redefining what it means to be timeless. In Wednesday Season 2, Morticia is expected to take on a larger role with more family tension, deeper backstory, and more screen time with Wednesday. And fans are ready. Because Catherine Zeta-Jones has proven once again that she doesn't just play a character, she elevates it. Catherine Zeta-Jones has never chased trends. She's never begged for relevance. Yet somehow she's always remained just that relevant, magnetic, unforgettable. Her legacy isn't just in the roles she played, but in how she played them with grace, power, and unwavering authenticity. She has never fit into a single box. She's been a musical ingenue, an action heroine, a dramatic powerhouse, a gothic matriarch, and a red carpet goddess. But through it all, she's remained one thing, absolutely herself. In an industry obsessed with youth, Catherine aged unapologetically. While others shrank or tried to disappear, she expanded. She embraced her years, her voice, her shadows. She never pretended to be less, only more. And in doing so, she became an icon for women who refused to be silenced, simplified, or photoshopped. She also redefined femininity not as fragility, but as duality. In her characters, we see women who are soft, yet sharp, elegant, yet dangerous, vulnerable, yet utterly in control. She reminded us that being powerful doesn't mean being loud, and being beautiful doesn't mean being passive. To younger actresses, she's proof that you can take your time, that your second act can be bolder than your first, that the spotlight doesn't belong to the young, it belongs to the ready. To the audience, she's a reminder that presence is more than screen time. It's how you carry yourself, how you speak, how you choose your moments. Catherine doesn't dominate the industry by being everywhere. She leaves an impression by being deliberate, refined, and rare. Her story isn't one of overnight fame or scandal-driven survival. It's one of craft, of reinvention, of knowing when to step forward and when to step back. And as she continues her journey on screen, on stage, and in life, she does so not as someone clinging to a crown, but as someone who made her own. That is the legacy of Catherine Zeta-Jones. Not just beauty, not just talent, but timeless control, elegance, and soul.